The heart of Argentine football beats differently than any other nation.
To Banega, brilliant ball from Banega. Is this the opener? Yes, it is!
Tevez closed down a little belatedly. Still Carlos Tevez went for goal! Oh!
That's electric! Carlos Tevez again! 3-0 Argentina!
Now Maradona! Oh! Maradona scores!
It lives in the noise of packed stadiums, the drums of the Barra Bravas, the chaos of Buenos Aires streets after a victory, and the impossible brilliance of generations of legendary number 10s. There's a feeling around Argentinian football that is difficult to explain, but impossible to ignore. It feels like the country is carrying both the full weight of its history and the excitement of a new future all at the same time. When Argentina walk into a World Cup, they don't just represent the present. They will carry the memories of the 1978 champions, the magic of Diego Maradona in 1986, and the emotional redemption of Messi from the 2022 World Cup victory in Qatar. This is now a team that understands suffering, pressure, and survival. What makes the current squad so interesting is the balance between the different generations. You still have the veterans from Qatar, led by Lionel Messi, who now seems to play with a completely different kind of freedom. Ever since winning the World Cup, Messi just looks calmer, more at peace, like an anchor has been lifted off of his shoulder. He still sees the game like nobody else, still creates moments that feel impossible, but now he also plays with the joy of someone enjoying every final chapter of his career. He is already used to being in the United States since he has been destroying everyone in the MLS. I thought my GOAT was just going there to chill on the beach, get a tan, but this man decided to hit another prime while pushing 40. Around him though, the new generation has fully arrived. Romero brings aggression and leadership to the back line. Enzo Fernández continues to be the conductor of the midfield, and Julián Álvarez has developed into one of the most ruthless forwards in world football. I mean, just the number of long shots that I have seen from this guy since he joined Atletico is insane.
Álvarez trying to curl it in! Oh yes! My goodness!
That's what makes this Argentina team feel so different compared to the previous eras. For years, Argentina often looked emotionally dependent on Messi to solve everything alone. But under Scaloni, the national team slowly transformed into something much stronger collectively. The Scaloneta identity is built around teamwork, tactical flexibility, discipline, and the players sacrificing for each other in every area of the pitch. The scars of losing finals in 2014, 2015, and 2016 has created a team that has incredible mental strength. I mean, Messi fans, we were down in the trenches during that period. Now, as the roads lead back towards another World Cup and back towards Mexico, where Maradona created football immortality in 1986, the connection between Argentina's past and present feels stronger than ever. If you believe in football destiny, then the 2026 World Cup returning to Mexico, partially, feels great for Argentina. For Argentine fans, Mexico is not just another host country, it is sacred football ground. It was there in 1986 that Diego Maradona produced what many people still consider the greatest World Cup performance ever. The 1986 World Cup became Diego Maradona's tournament. That's why so many Argentinian fans feel emotional about returning to Mexico in 2026, because the last time they were there, Argentina became world champion. Under coach Carlos Bilardo, Argentina arrived with huge pressure surrounding them. Bilardo was obsessed with tactics, defensive organization, and structure. He built the entire system around one goal, which was to give Maradona total freedom to destroy the opponent. His decision to use a 3-5-2 system specifically designed for Diego was controversial at the time, but it completely changed football history. From the very beginning, Maradona looked untouchable. Then came the quarterfinals against England, a match that became much bigger than football. Only 4 years earlier, Argentina and England had fought the Falklands War, so the tension surrounding the game was impossible to ignore. And in just a few minutes, Maradona created two of the most famous and iconic moments in the sport's history. First came the hand of God. Maradona jumped with goalkeeper Peter Shilton and punched the ball into the net with his hand, somehow escaping the referee's attention. He would not be able to get away with this in the VAR era. But what happened next made the first goal almost irrelevant. Only minutes later, Maradona picked up the ball near the midfield and dribbled past almost the entire English team in one of the greatest goals ever scored. That goal genuinely made Maradona turn into something bigger than the sport itself. The final against West Germany was another dramatic battle. It's crazy how many times these two countries have faced each other in the World Cup. Argentina raced into a 2-0 lead and looked ready to celebrate early, but Germany slowly clawed their way back into the game and equalized at 2-2. Suddenly, the dream looked like it might collapse. Then, Maradona found another moment of genius. Despite being tightly marked for most of the match, the German players were practically humping Maradona, he spotted a tiny opening in the 84th minute and delivered a perfect through ball to Jorge Burruchaga. Burruchaga sprinted through and finished calmly to give Argentina a 3-2 win and their second World Cup title. That tournament became the peak of Argentine football mythology. Maradona reached a level of greatness that almost felt impossible to repeat, and Mexico became permanently connected to one of the proudest moments in the country's history. But football history is never simple, because after reaching the peak in 1986, Argentina would spend the next few decades chasing that high again. The years after the glory of 1986 felt like a long, painful search for another moment of immortality. Argentina reached another World Cup final in 1990, but this time their journey there was very different. The team was physically exhausted, constantly battling injuries, and surviving more through grit and emotion than their brilliant football. Goalkeeper Sergio Goycochea became a national hero because of his penalty shootout performances, dragging Argentina through the knockout rounds almost by sheer willpower. He was the Emi Martinez before Emi Martinez. But the dream ended painfully. In the final against West Germany, Argentina lost 1-0 after a controversial late penalty decision. Many Argentine fans still argue about that call today. Now, losing a World Cup final always hurts, but this one felt especially cruel because the team had fought so hard just to get there. Still, it was nothing compared to the emotional devastation of 1994. The World Cup in the United States started with so much hope. Diego Maradona looked sharp, motivated, and ready for one final run at glory, one last dance. Against Greece, he scored a stunning goal, and then went directly to the camera looking like a psycho. That one clip showed the duality of Diego, an unbelievable footballer with an insane amount of passion. Diego was fully alive again. Then everything collapsed. News broke that Maradona had tested positive for a banned stimulant. I guess that celebration at the camera should have been the warning. The story around it became so chaotic and controversial. It involved supplements, trainers, and confusion over what exactly had happened. The reports claimed that his trainer had switched one supplement for another without realizing it contained illegal substances. Whatever the explanation was, the result destroyed Argentina's tournament. Maradona was expelled from the World Cup. Without him, Argentina looked lost. Romania eliminated them in the round of 16, and for many Argentines, it felt like watching the final chapter of Diego's football story end in tragedy instead of triumph. Then came a different type of heartbreak in 1998. This Argentina team was genuinely pretty good. They had Gabriel Batistuta, also known as Batigol, who was one of the most feared strikers in the world, combining power, aggression, and lethal finishing. With him, Argentina looked capable of winning the entire tournament. But in the quarterfinals against the Netherlands, football produced a cruel moment of genius. With the match tied late on, Dutch defender Frank de Boer launched a massive long pass across the field towards Dennis Bergkamp. And what happened next became one of the greatest goals in World Cup history.
Frank de Boer speelt de bal heel goed naar Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp neemt de bal aan. Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp! Oh! Frank de Boer speelt de bal naar Dennis Bergkamp.
For Argentina fans, it remains one of the most painful memories in the national team's history. But then came what many supporters still consider the absolute lowest point before the modern revival, and that's the 2002 World Cup. Argentina entered the tournament in South Korea and Japan as the #1 ranked country in the world, and one of the favorites to lift the World Cup. Under Marcelo Bielsa, they had dominated qualification with an intense pressing system that looked unstoppable. We all know how crazy Bielsa ball is. But naturally, playing that way meant that by the time the World Cup started, the squad looked exhausted both physically and mentally. To make things worse, Argentina landed in what many people considered at the time the group of death, with England, Sweden, and Nigeria. They opened with a narrow win over Nigeria, but the next match against the fish and chips lovers England became emotionally massive, again because of the rivalry between the countries. England won 1-0 through a David Beckham penalty, leaving Argentina under huge pressure heading into the final group against Sweden. The final match became pure desperation. Argentina needed to win and spent almost the entire game attacking relentlessly. The opposite of Arsenal. They created chance after chance, but simply could not finish. Then Sweden ended up scoring through an incredible long-range free kick from Anders Svensson, making the situation even more desperate. Hernan Crespo eventually scored late after a missed penalty rebound, but it wasn't enough. Argentina was eliminated in the group stage. For a football-obsessed country that entered the tournament with massive expectations, this exit felt catastrophic. A team filled with talent, expectations, and belief had collapsed before the knockout rounds even began. The 2006 World Cup marked the beginning of a new era for the Argentina national team. A 19-year-old Lionel Messi made his World Cup debut, introducing the world to the player who would eventually define an entire generation of football. But at that time, the emotional and tactical leader of Argentina was still Juan Román Riquelme. Riquelme played football differently than anybody else. This guy played like he was permanently high with how calm he was. He played like he had permanent post-nut clarity. He slowed the game down, controlled the rhythm, and made everything feel artistic and effortless. You know, the complete opposite of watching Garnacho play. For many Argentines, Riquelme represented the purest version of traditional Argentine football intelligence. In the quarterfinal against Germany, surprise surprise, these two countries met again, Argentina looked in control after taking a 1-0 lead. Then came one of the most debated coaching decisions in Argentine history. Manager Jose Pekerman removed Riquelme in the 72nd minute to try to protect the lead. Messi, meanwhile, stayed on the bench for the entire match. Without Riquelme controlling possession, Argentina slowly lost momentum. Germany equalized, and the game went to penalties. Then another famous moment entered World Cup history. The German goalie Jens Lehmann used a small piece of paper hidden in his sock that reportedly listed where the Argentine players preferred to shoot their penalties. Germany won the shootout, and Argentina's tournament ended in frustration and an endless what-if discussion that still continues today. What if Riquelme wasn't taken off? What if Messi was actually used? 4 years later, the 2010 World Cup became chaos. Diego Maradona returned to the national team, but this time as the manager, with Messi now carrying the expectations of the country on his shoulders. Emotionally, the team felt powerful because of Maradona's aura. Tactically though, they were a mess. Argentina attacked with freedom, but defended like Real Madrid, leaking goals left, right, and center. The team still reached the quarterfinals, largely because of individual brilliance. But then when they played Germany, the Germans exposed all of their weaknesses brutally. Germany destroyed Argentina 4-0 in one of the most humiliating defeats in modern Argentine football history. The tactical gap between the two teams looked enormous, and many fans naturally felt the team had relied too heavily on emotion instead of a proper football structure. Then came the heartbreak of 2014. Under Alejandro Sabella, Argentina became a far more disciplined and defensively organized side. This team was not as flashy as previous generations, but they were disciplined defensively and very tough mentally. One of the craziest moments came in the semi-final against the Netherlands. Mascherano produced one of the greatest blocks I've ever seen, where he threw himself into a last-second tackle to stop Arjen Robben from scoring. That's what South American defending looks like. Argentina eventually reached the final where they would face Germany. One win away from immortality, but the Germans decided to break the Argentine hearts. After a tense match filled with a lot of missed chances, Mario Götze scored an extra time to give Germany a 1-0 win. Heartbreaking stuff as Messi walked past the World Cup trophy without touching it, creating one of the saddest images of his career. The best player at the tournament, but not the eventual winner. For many fans, it felt like another chance slipping away forever.
Es un pecho frío, camina en la cancha. No lo pueden comparar nunca con Maradona.
Siempre lo banqué toda la vida, pero no puede ser. Ya está, dejen de joder, es un invento, se va, un invento.
Escucho por ahí el no siente la camiseta o el no poner huevo, no corre.
Muchísima gente que me decía, no volvás más, que tenés que volver, a que te maten, a sufrir. Mi hijo de 6 años, que entiende, ¿por qué te matan en Argentina, papi? ¿Por qué no te quieren ahí? Tanta mentira y que digan las cosas con tanta tranquilidad y sin pensar en nada. La verdad que yo no lo había visto.
Then came the chaos of 2018. Under Jorge Sampaoli, Argentina looked completely unstable. The team never found tactical balance, relationships inside the squad reportedly became very tense, and the aging core struggled physically against younger and faster opponents. Like, these guys barely survived the group before running into a star-studded France team in the round of 16. Argentina and France traded goals constantly, a back-and-forth game, you know, the complete opposite of your typical Premier League game. Angel Di Maria scored an unbelievable long-range strike, but then Benjamin Pavard answered with one of the greatest volleys I've ever seen in a World Cup. Then of course this was the game where Kylian Mbappe exploded onto the global stage. He showed his terrifying speed and finishing as France won 4-3. You watch Mbappe back then, honestly he might have peaked in 2018. For many Argentine fans, that defeat felt like the last chapter in Messi's journey with the national team. I mean, how was he supposed to lift the World Cup with those players around him?
La verdad que es un dolor tremendo, ¿no? Una vergüenza. Hay que alentarlo y taparle la boca a todos los que lo critican y le sacan el cuero.
Y me desvivo. Tienen que volver. Perdone que me emocioné, pero es eso lo que siento.
But then, everything changed at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Lionel Scaloni, a coach who had almost no experience when he first took over the national team, slowly built a completely different kind of Argentina. The squad became united, emotionally connected, and tactically flexible.
Existe la casualidad, muchachos. ¿Sabe qué? Esta copa se tenía que jugar en Argentina. Y Dios la trajo acá. Dios la trajo acá para que la levantemos en el Maracaná, muchachos. Para que sea más lindo para todos. Así que salgamos confiados y tranquilos que esta la vamos a llevar para casa.
Unlike previous teams, this squad no longer depended entirely on Messi to produce miracles alone. Now what's funny is the tournament started horribly with a shocking loss to Saudi Arabia. At this point everybody had written off Argentina, but instead of collapsing, these guys came back stronger after every match.
Messi's hit! Oh! The Magic Man!
Argentina and Lionel Messi's World Cup journey continues. They're through as group winners. They will play Australia.
McAllister, Messi! 1,000 games and still he excels. Wriggling away from Ake and fiddling through a beautiful pass. It's a wonderful Argentina goal.
And then came the final against France, a game that, in my opinion, is the greatest football match I've ever seen. It felt like the season finale of a 30-season show on Netflix. Argentina dominated early and took a 2-0 lead. I mean, the game should have been wrapped up there and then. But then Kylian Mbappe exploded late in the match and dragged France back into the game pretty much single-handedly. Messi scored again in extra time to make it 3-2, but Mbappe completed his hat-trick to force penalties. Then came one final moment that will live forever in Argentine football history. In the final seconds of extra time, Kolo Muani suddenly found himself one-on-one with Dibu Martinez. One goal that could have ended everything, and yet Martinez blocked the shot with his left leg. That save instantly became immortal. Argentina eventually won the penalty shootout, and after decades of heartbreak, criticism, and pressure, Lionel Messi, the greatest player of all time, finally lifted the World Cup trophy.
He's been a fraud internationally since he started his career, and we're seeing it really come to the surface now. He's not the same guy when he leaves Camp Nou. Messi did his thing, winning the World Cup. Messi was picture perfect. Nothing else to say. Those who ever doubted him are dumb.
For Argentina, for Messi fans, it felt like redemption for an entire generation.
Boy wonder is about to enter the World Cup. Lionel Messi, just 18 years old. Diego Maradona is a big fan of Messi. And Lionel Messi becomes the youngest Argentine player to play at a World Cup since 1934.
26 years since Maradona and Mexico. Here, finally, is a nation's new stronghold immortals. Messi will be sated.
As Argentina look ahead, the biggest question hanging over the team is very simple. What happens to Argentina when Messi's not the one carrying everything? The answer is becoming clearer with every tournament.
Te quería preguntar, ¿cómo se preparan para ganar la Copa Mundial de la FIFA?
Mirá, esta vez es diferente. Ya no somos los mismos de hace 4 años. Sepamos todos que no vamos a ir a ganar.
No vamos. Fuertes declaraciones del DT. Inesperado.
Palabras textuales de Scaloni. ¿Qué pasa al técnico de la selección?
¿Cómo no vamos a ir a ganarla?
No, vamos a ir a defenderla.
Argentina has finally built a team that can survive, compete, and win even when Messi is not the center of every single moment. He's still the soul of the squad and the greatest player alive, but this team has learned how to function collectively in a way that previous Argentine generations often could not. The perfect example came during the 2024 Copa America final versus Colombia. In the 64th minute, the entire stadium froze when Messi went down with an ankle injury and had to leave the match. Watching him cry on the bench felt devastating for Argentine fans because for so many years, the emotional stability of the national team depended completely on him. But this time, something different happened. Argentina did not collapse. They stayed organized, disciplined, and became even more aggressive. The team kept following Scaloni's structure and eventually won the match in extra time through a goal from Lautaro Martinez. For years, Argentina relied on moments of genius just to survive. The 2024 Copa America showed that the Scaloneta had evolved into something much stronger than that. The system itself had become powerful. The players all trusted each other, trusted the tactical structure, and trusted the collective mentality Scaloni had built over the years. Tactically, Argentina are now one of the most flexible teams in world football. Scaloni constantly changes systems depending on the opponent. Argentina can play with a 4-3-3 or even shift to a 4-4-2. I have even seen them use a back three when necessary. But no matter the formation, the midfield remains the heart of everything. Enzo Fernández is the architect of the team, controlling the tempo and helping start attacks from deep areas. McAllister, while not playing that well for Liverpool recently, still connects the midfield by finding dangerous spaces between the defensive lines, while also contributing goals. And Rodrigo De Paul, despite going to Miami and becoming Messi's bodyguard, continues doing the exhausting work that often goes unnoticed. The way Argentina attack is very direct, especially when you compare it to the way that previous Argentinian teams went forward. Once they recover possession, they immediately look for forward passes to attack space quickly before the defenses can reset. Scaloni often describes the team as traveling together, meaning attacks involve multiple players arriving into dangerous areas at the same time rather than relying on isolated moments, from Lionel Messi. Defensively, this team has become more disciplined as well. Argentina stays compact, protects the central spaces aggressively, and forces opponents into uncomfortable areas of the pitch. That defensive structure has now become one of the biggest reasons the team feels so mentally difficult to break down now. The squad is slowly entering a transition period. Messi is still there, but his role looks different now. Instead of constantly carrying the attack, doing the job of both the striker and the central midfielder, he's now operating more like a deep conductor, controlling the rhythm of matches and creating moments through his vision and intelligence. He's constantly pressing, covering space, and protecting the attacking player. Julián Álvarez has already developed into one of the best forwards in world football. He can now pick his moments better. His movement, pressing, finishing, and work rate make him absolutely essential to the way Argentina plays. In 2022, he felt like the surprise weapon of the team. Now, he's become the face of the attack. Romero remains the emotional leader of the defense. He plays with aggression and intensity every single game. He looks way better for Argentina than he's ever looked for Tottenham, constantly winning physical duels and allowing Argentina to defend high up the pitch. Sometimes he plays right on the edge emotionally, but that edge also gives the team personality and fearlessness. Then next to him is a center back who has all those qualities as well, Lisandro Martinez. Then there's Emiliano Dibu Martinez, who's almost become a mythical figure inside Argentine football culture. Beyond his goalkeeping ability, he just gives the team so much confidence. This guy has balls of steel. His personality, mind games, and huge moments in knockout matches make opponents visibly uncomfortable. And behind all of them, the next generation of players has arrived. Nico Paz is viewed as one of the brightest young talents Argentina has produced in years. The young left-footed winger had so many moments of magic at Como. He was one of the best players in Serie A. Claudio Echeverri is another youngster that's generating a lot of excitement. The young attacking midfielder plays like a classic Argentine, operating in small spaces, drifting between the lines, and creating chances with creativity and flair. His move to Manchester City felt like another sign that Argentina's talent pipeline is not slowing down anytime soon. Mastantuono, despite a rocky start with Real Madrid, is still a top talent. It's hard for any player to thrive in that toxic locker room, let alone a youngster. From what I saw from him at River Plate, he has so much quality. It might take a move away from Real Madrid for him to be able to fully show it again. But I wouldn't count this guy out yet. This is no longer a team desperately chasing redemption for Messi. It is a squad that has already conquered football's biggest mountain, and now they're hoping they can stay there. But what if Messi does win the World Cup again? To see how much that will change his legacy, you have to watch this video right here.